on confidence intervals for the mean. So we are going to be making confidence intervals that look something like this. That the overall mean or the overall average is somewhere between 80 and 84. That sounds like Maui. That would be a nice place to be right now. So that means that the average temperature in Maui, or at least the sample average temperature, is 82. And then that means that the error must have been 2 degrees. So you add 2, you get 84. You subtract 2, you get 80. So we're going to be making confidence interval for the mean, and in this particular section, the sigma is going to be known. So the sigma, as you recall, is the standard deviation for the whole population. So if that's known, we're allowed to use table A2 for our critical values. That's also known as the z distribution. So let's get right to it. Here's an example from the NBA. So LeBron James is still playing. Michael Jordan is retired. So Michael Jordan's mu, or overall average, 31.6 points per game. He was a genius. Well, still is. So I sampled 35 games from LeBron, found out the average was 27.5. Yeah, a little bit lower, but he's not finished playing, and this is only based on 35 games. I also found out that for his whole career, or in other words, the whole population of his scores, not just those 35, standard deviation 5.732. So we're going to make a 95% confidence interval for LeBron James average points per game. And then at the end, we're going to compare this 31.6 and see how LeBron's confidence interval compares to Michael Jordan's points per game. So here's the sample evidence. N is 35 and the average 27.5. Now for the critical value, you can look at the bottom of table A2 and it has common critical values. Since we're using 95%, that means that the critical value, or z sub alpha over 2, will be 1.96. Now the formula for the error is that it's that critical value, z sub alpha over 2, times the standard deviation and then divided by square root of sample size. So in this case, this is what the numbers look like. And then it turns out that the error is 1.899, so that means his average is 27.5, but that could be off by 1.899. So then what we do is add the error on one side and subtract the error on the other side, ending up with his average somewhere between 25.601, 29.399. So now that we've made the interval, what we do is look at the 31.6 and see that that is even better than our very best estimate for LeBron James. So in conclusion, we could be 95% sure that Jordan's average is better than James' average. All right, let's do one more example. There's this group of 40 teens that were polled about how much they sleep. Average 8.4, and then it's known that the overall standard deviation 1.3 hours. This time we're going to make a 98% confidence level. Here's the sample data, but this time we're not going to use the formula. This time we're going to use the calculator. So use the stat key to get into this window, move over to tests, and then move down to the 7th one, which is the z interval. And again, we're allowed to use z because this is the sigma. So once you choose the z interval, it's going to look like this. You type in the sample information, double check that I typed everything in correctly, move down to the bottom and press calculate, and there we have it. The interval goes from 7.889 to 8.911 hours per night. Now, what we can use these intervals for is if someone said, you know what, teenagers are lazy and they sleep 10 hours a night. We can look at this interval and say, well, based on these statistics, no, they sleep somewhere between 7.8, 8.9, but 10, that's way too big of an estimate. Now, if someone said 7 hours a night, I could also say, no, that's not correct because 7 is not within this interval. Then there's the case that somebody says, you know what, I think they average 8 hours a night. Well, then I cannot refute what they said because that is within the interval. But does it mean that it has to be 8? And still, then we can't tell. 8 is possible, but it could be also more than 8 because up here it goes up to 8.9, or here a little bit lower than 8. So when somebody says something in the interval, then yes, it is possible, but I can't refute them and say they were wrong, like the person that said 10 hours or like the person that said 7 hours. All right, so that was a good time. See you next time.